Hello, Amusement Park Portal. Thank you for joining us on our latest video. I thought it'd be interesting to take a look back at pre-merger Six Flags to see if they deserved all the negativity they've gotten over the years about their parks being dirty, the food not being good, crews being slow, landscaping, merchandise. There's a whole plethora of complaints that some enthusiasts have thrown out there about Six Flags over the year. And myself, I've been to all the Six Flags parks minus one, Discovery Kingdom, which we're going to be heading there this summer, hopefully. But I wanted to give you my take on, well, the status of the Six Flags parks before the merger, pre-merger. So we're going to take a look back and see if all that was justified. And we're going to go by 8 different points of criteria that we picked out for this video to look back and to see if all that negativity was justified. Now, the 8 bullet points that we're going to be looking at is number 1, clones, 2, food quality, 3, coasters, 4, landscaping, 5, the ride crews, 6, merchandise, 7, theming, and finally 8, the cleanliness of the parks. So without further ado, let's get things started with number 1, cloned rides. All right, now I know a lot of people give Six Flags a lot of crap about cloned coasters, but look at it this way. Look at it from a business standpoint. Cloned coasters not only are cheaper to replicate at all your parks, but besides the coaster enthusiast community, who's really going to notice that there's clones at these parks? I mean, and if they're a good clone, like, for example, the Batman clone, as you see here, is an awesome ride and was replicated throughout most Six Flags parks, is that a bad? And let's not forget, at that time, Cedar Fair had its fair share of clones as well. You had all the Windseekers, Woodstock Expresses, Intamin Impulse coasters, Mouse coasters, restaurants, stores, flat rides, and more that were all cloned throughout every single Cedar Fair park. However, not all clones are created equal. Some clones were a flop and only lasted a few years at the park. For example, the Cyborg rides, well, those only lasted a few years before they were removed. And most recently, the Kids Flash coasters through several of the Six Flags parks have not survived either. So clones can be a bad thing as well if they are not a proven ride design. On the same token, you've had some pretty successful clones over the years as well, like the RMC single rail coasters, the Batman coasters, and more. There's been several coasters and rides that have been cloned that are absolute hits at each park that they are installed at. And some of these cloned rides have ended up at other park chains like Cedar Fair, SeaWorld, and more. All right, next up we're going to look at the food quality. All right, now I'm going to rate this one on what I eat at the theme parks, because typically I like to eat something other than the chicken tenders and burgers, the standard fare that you find at all parks. I like something a little different and unique that you don't find at all theme parks. So that's what I'm basing this on. And I got to say, as far as Six Flags go, it's been hit and miss. I've had some excellent meals there. Some of the best meals I've had in a theme park. Others average, not so good. I mean, but if I had to put it up against Cedar Fair or any other parks, I'd rank it right in the middle. I mean, if you're going to go for like a standard burger or chicken fingers, don't expect gourmet. But if you're going to go for something outside the box, like maybe a Philly cheesesteak or pasta. Now, if you would have asked me this question about 7, 8 years ago, it probably wouldn't be the same. Their food was kind of crappy, let's be honest here. But over the past few years, their food quality and choices has really expanded. And now that the park is merged, they're getting their own, I guess, chefs. Each park is getting a chef. So I can definitely see the quality of the food improving even more over the next few years as a transition takes place from. And another nice observation about the parks is it seems like they're starting to get away from all the chain restaurants that used to occupy the parks, like the Subways and Chick-fil-A's, things like that, seem to be making their way out of the theme parks these days, which I'm okay with because you can get those foods anywhere. When I go to a theme park, I like to try something different that you can't just go down to the corner and get, or something that the other theme parks just don't have. Next up, we're going to look at the quality and variety of coasters that occupy the Six Flags parks. All right, as far as overall quality and variety of coasters throughout the Six Flags chain, I give them a solid B. Now, you got to give them credit. I give credit where credit is due. Six Flags has been on the innovative side of coasters. They've tried coasters out that other parks are afraid to even look at. I mean, you got parks like, or rides rather, like Max Force, El Toro. You even have things like X2 out at Magic Mountain, Superman that they just announced it's closing. They're not afraid to try out new types of coasters at Six Flags, and I give them a lot of credit for that. Because typically at parks like Cedar Fair and all that, they will not build a coaster until there's other coasters of that type around and they've been proven. Well, Six Flags, they're the ones that like to try these new coasters out before the other parks get them. Yeah, some work out, some don't, but the ones that do work out are a lot of fun. Now, some people may say, yeah, but Cedar Fair is innovative and they have record breaking rides like Millennium and Top Thrill 2. What? You know what? Being a record breaker beyond what it looks like on paper and maybe on the back of a t shirt doesn't necessarily equate it to being a great ride. I've been on some record breaking coasters that, yeah, while being fun, I mean, I've had more fun on a smaller coaster just because it has more elements or it's more thought out. However, at the same time, I'm not going to deny that record breaking coasters do bring the crowds in. I mean, when rides like Millennium Force or Top Thrill 2 or Top Thrill Dragster, I mean, even King Ka years ago brought in the crowds. So I'm not going to deny that. But as far as the future goes, I don't think that's the direction the parks are going to go in as far as coasters go. I think they're going to be more innovative and looking more at the fun factor than anything else. Next up, we're going to focus on the landscaping of the Six Flags parks. Now, as far as landscaping goes, this is the one area that I think Six Flags was lacking in. I mean, some parks were better than others. I mean, you'd go to some parks like Fiesta, Texas, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Flowers everywhere, trees, decoration. I mean, it was just beautiful. Then you go to other parks like, say, Six Flags America, and while it wasn't horrible, it just wasn't on the same level as some of the other parks were. But however, I have noticed that over the last few years, they have had a slight improvement in this department. And I'm hoping with the merger now complete that this is one area of the Six Flags parks that you see a big improvement in. Next up, we're going to look at the speed and efficiency of the ride crews. As far as ride efficiency and cruise speed goes, I really haven't noticed a big difference between the park chains. Six Flags has its good days and bad days, just like any other park out there does. I've gone on weekends to Six Flags Park, and some of the crews have just been awesome. It was like a race to try to dispatch the train on time before the next one comes into the station. And I've also gone on days where now the crew is just kind of messing around or just slow in general, and it was in no hurry to get the train sent out. But like I said, the same can be said about any other park chain. I've gone to Cedar Point, I've gone to SeaWorld, I've gone to even Disney and Universal, and there's been days that, well, their crews have just not been very good. I mean, it's the same for all chains. So when I hear people say Six Flags has some bad dispatch times, I don't know, I kind of find that hard to believe because I've been to just about every major park in the country, and I find it pretty much equal across the board. Parks crews are going to have their good days and they're going to have their bad days. It just depends on what day you happen to be. So, as far as this one goes, I'm going to give it a wash because they're right up there with all the other parks. And like I said, they have their good days and bad days, just like any of the other parks do. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at the park's merchandising. All right, as far as Six Flags merchandising goes, I give them a B. I mean, it used to have more of a variety than they have now. Now, I don't mean types of products like shirts, cups, keychains, all that. They have a wide variety of those type of things. However, they seem to be getting away from the ride specific merchandise and going more towards the standard, superhero or Looney Tune type outfits, like a regular Batman shirt or a Bugs Bunny shirt. But it's harder to find like a ride specific shirt. Like if you wanted like a El Toro shirt or a Georgia Cyclone shirt. Sure, they have them once in a while, but they are harder to find. So after walking through the gift shops, a lot of the merchandise becomes repetitive after a while because it's either has a Batman logo on it, a Wonder Woman logo on it, or a Superman logo on it, and it all just kinds of blends together after time. However, I will give Six Flags the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the pricing. Their prices, well, can't be beat by other parks. I mean, a T-shirt that costs $25-$30 at another park only costs like maybe $18 here, and then you throw in your discount. You have a pretty good discount, especially if you're grandfathered into the Diamond membership. You get an additional, well, usually 25 to 45% off of your merchandise and food. So that really is an incentive to buy more merchandise and food at the Six Flags parks because of that discount. But overall, like I had said, I'd like to see more variety in ride specific merchandise. It's becoming harder and harder to find in the parks these days, which is a real bummer because typically when I visit a new park, I like to buy a t shirt that's either ride specific or park specific. And, well, I haven't had very good luck lately finding either. All right, next up, we're going to look at the park's theming. All right, some areas of the Six Flags parks are very immersive, like the DC superheroes areas, and some of the dark rides they have there are just themed remarkably. Then you have other things like Superman while you're waiting in line. It's just a bunch of cardboard, like cutout looking things. So now, I am a big fan of the DC and the Looney Tunes. I prefer it over Snoopy. I'm not a huge Snoopy fan. It doesn't really do anything for me. Matter of fact, I find it kind of boring. So I do prefer the DC and the Looney Tunes theming overall over the Snoopy theming. However, I will say some areas of the Six Flags parks do look a little, I don't want to say junky, but a little overwhelming. They have a little bit scattered theming. They'll have like Superman, Wonder Woman, just all kind of thrown together in one spot, and it can get confusing at times. But overall, I think Six Flags does a really, really good job on their theming, especially their dark rides, like the Battle for Metropolis dark rides, and the indoor mouse coasters like Dark Knight and that. The theming is awesome. Some of it's on par with like Universal. Not a lot, but some is. But overall, like I said, I give it a solid B plus for theming. Can they do better? Absolutely. But I really don't have too many complaints about it. Now, another area that I got to give them props for is during their Halloween, their Fear Fest event. They do an excellent job. They have a lot of decor throughout the park, fog, strobe lights, and I do think they are one step above Cedar Fair when it comes to the Halloween theming. Yeah, I know I'll probably get some flack for that one, but in my opinion, I think they have slightly better Halloween decor than what the Cedar Fair parks have. And that also goes for the haunted houses themselves. As you know, this year they've taken on a lot of new IPs like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Stranger Things, and many more that they're implementing into their haunted houses. And the theming for these attractions is just remarkable. I'd love to see some of these IPs make their way over to the Legacy Cedar Fair Park. And when you look at specific themed areas of the park, like this here, we're showing some shots from Six Flags Great America. It looks like they put a lot of effort into theming the area. Like you have the Southwest Territory over here. You have all like the Western looking buildings. You have the big building here where Chabasco is housed in. And I like that. Some of the Cedar Fair parks you go to, it's more of a concrete jungle. I mean, they do have their themed areas, but not to the extent that some of the Six Flags parks have. Next up, we're going to look into the cleanliness of the parks. This is one area that I think they get a lot of, well, negativity that's not deserved. Sure, I've run into messes at Six Flags parks, and I've ran into messes at SeaWorld and Cedar Fair parks. Heck, I've even run into messes at Disney parks. It really just depends on when and where you are. If you walk in right behind a group of teenagers, well, they're going to leave a mess usually. Not that I agree with them doing that, but that's typically what happens. And at Six Flags, you have a lot of teenagers. Now, recently, the parks have implemented a chaperone policy, and that's helped a lot. And I will say this, part of the issue that makes these parks look a little maybe on the dingy side is the blacktop. Six Flags parks have a lot of blacktop, and it doesn't really help. It kind of makes it look a little run down, even though it's not run down. That's just how it is. And I will say this, Six Flags in the past has had an issue of painting buildings and just upkeep of buildings and painting of the rides in general. And I have noticed a big upswing in improvements over the last 3-4 years, well before the merger. They've started painting rides, adding some flower beds. Just even the security guards are walking around with those little sticks that pick up the garbage. So I've never really ran into like a dirty Six Flags park. I've had areas of the park that have been dirty, but like I said, is that really the park's fault for a group of teenagers coming in there dumping garbage everywhere? I mean, they can't have people walking, following groups around, picking up after them 24/7. I will say this, however, it used to be bad, and I have noticed a huge improvement on this. Like I said, over the last 3 to 5 years. Well, I think it's a little unfair all the negativity the Six Flags have gotten over the years as far as cleanliness goes. Well, there you have it. There is our 8 reasons why I think Six Flags doesn't deserve as much flack as it's received over the years. We're going to end this video here. I'm going to finish up while we're looking at probably one of the rides I missed the most, the Skyway ride at Skyride at Six Flags Great Adventure, which was recently removed. And that's another thing. I just wanted to end on this note. A lot of people are blaming Six Flags for all these ride removals. Well, none of these rides were announced, or they weren't even announced. They were just removed. There was no announcement until the merger was complete. And as I had mentioned, we're kind of looking back at before the merger. And well, there you have it. That was my 8 reasons why I think Six Flags doesn't deserve the negativity that is received in the past. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. And thank you for watching. We'll see you guys out on the Midway real soon.